People often think that there are very many talented young rosters in the NBA. However, I believe there are only 5 that truly stand out above the rest. I need to start this off by saying that there's no winning with a topic like this. No matter what order I put these teams in, no matter what teams are on this list, someone's going to be upset. I also consider a young core team to be capped out at 24 years old, so anyone that's aged 25 and up won't make the cut or be considered. And this means while guys like SGA are great, the young core for OKC will be assessed without him being a part of it. And the same goes for players like Anthony Simons and DeAndre Ayton on the Blazers, as well as Ja Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies, so just take that into account. And achievements will obviously help, but players who are clearly stars in their own right but haven't fully backed it up yet with stats won't be penalized that much for it. Before we start, make sure to comment your 5 favorite young core teams in the NBA. Make sure to rank them even 1 through 5 before the video starts, and come back after and see how your list stacks up against mine. With that said though, let's jump right into the first entry, and at number 5 I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now OKC might be a controversial choice to put here at number 5, and I fully expect a flood of "this guy doesn't know basketball" comments. However, as I mentioned before, SGA doesn't count in this evaluation, and so it's really just Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams or J-Dub, and then Nikola Topic. OKC is years ahead of where the team their age should be, nearly making the Western Conference Finals last year. Chet Holmgren is very impressive and easily projects to be a multi-time All-Star while having a solid rookie season with decent playoff stats, where he averaged 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks in his first ever playoff series. And then you have Jalen Williams. He projects to be a potential All-Star in the coming years and has been such a fun and exciting story for OKC over the last 2 seasons. And now their new young draft pick Nikola Topic was discussed as a potential first overall pick for a while, but he ended up falling to number 12 due to injury concerns. And now while I can't rank him as being a key part of this OKC team's young core moving forward, he definitely has the ceiling and the potential, but we'll just have to see with him. Moving on to number 4, we have the Portland Trail Blazers. I've made a couple different videos about the Portland Trail Blazers young core and what I think about it, and just how underrated it is in general, but here's a summary. The Blazers have 2 players in Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe who have shown the potential to become All-Stars one day and easily lead this team to the Western Conference Finals or even the Finals. Then they have a lot of guys who may be able to become stars but are more so high-end complementary pieces like Donovan Clingan, who could easily emerge as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on just his rookie contract. And then you have a lot of depth pieces like Deni Avdija or Tamani Kamara who play their role and play their role well and might be some of the best valued contracts in the coming seasons. Portland hopes to see significant progress from all their young players this year, and when you have a combination of star potential, complementary role players with high upside and plenty of depth, it's just hard not to include Portland in the top 5 of this list. Moving on to number 3, we have the Orlando Magic. What started off their rebuild initially seemed like a surprising pick in Paolo Banchero, but that ended up being a fantastic decision for the Magic. I don't know if you remember, but on draft night it was expected that the Orlando Magic would draft Jabari Smith Jr. at number 1, Chet Holmgren would go to OKC at number 2, and that Paolo Banchero would end up dropping to the Rockets at number 3. It was a clear 1, 2, 3 in that draft, but as draft night approached, Orlando committed to drafting Paolo and never looked back. He ended up becoming an All-Star in just his 2nd year in the league and led the Orlando Magic to their first playoff appearance in 4 years. Franz Wagner is another key piece of this Magic's young core, perfectly complementing Paolo with his versatile defense, shot creation, and playmaking. They also have Jalen Suggs, who's an underrated player on that team. He was a strong point of attack defender and is slowly improving his offensive game. Additionally, they have guys like Anthony Black and Jet Howard who are definitely promising prospects but just haven't really shown much yet, but still have the potential to become key pieces either through trade or as part of Orlando's future. I'm excited to see how this Orlando Magic team progresses over the coming seasons and where they get in the playoffs. As I'm sure you know, they've been historically one of the worst teams in the NBA, so to see them start to put it all together and have some progress and have some promising young pieces is a lot of fun to see. Now this next team at number 2 you could definitely argue is one of the most well-rounded young cores in the NBA, but at number 2 we have the Houston Rockets. Now they boast several players who could easily develop into stars in their own right. You have guys like Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun who have already reached that all-star caliber level talent and are real nice foundational pieces for the Rockets rebuild. They also have former number 3 overall pick Jabari Smith Jr., who in his rookie year didn't seem like he was living up to the hype, but in his second season showed significant upside in his defense and showed a lot more promise on shooting and being able to just boast more confidence while on the court. And this doesn't even include some of their more recent draft picks and guys like Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, of course, falling to pick number 20 last year, who was also seen as a top 4 to 5 pick in last year's deep draft. And Amen Thompson, who has a lot of upside and was drafted number 4 overall last year. And then, of course, they have Reed Shepherd, who they drafted this year, who a lot of people think might be one of the best, if not the best player of this last year's draft. Now, it is a bit too early to draw any firm conclusions with these 3 guys, but they all have the potential to become all-stars one day, or at the very least become excellent and complementary role players to the foundation and rebuild that the Rockets are putting together. Finally, at number 1, no surprises here, we have the San Antonio Spurs. And I don't even know how much I need to dive into this, but when you have the next generational player on your team who nearly won Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, it's not hard to be considered for one of the best young cores in the league. They also just drafted Stephon Castle, who had a strong case to be made to be one of the top 2 picks in this year's draft. He has the ability to create his own shots, handle the ball well and navigate screens, has a quick first step, and he possesses all the tools to be a formidable defender and a tough opponent for nearly every guard in the NBA. He reminds me a lot of a Drew Holiday kind of guy that's just going to give anyone problems when you're going up against him on defense. And pairing him alongside Victor Wembanyama could definitely create one of the most dynamic and fearsome duos that the NBA has seen in a long time. And while some might argue that the Spurs lack the depth of a team like the Houston Rockets do, and that normally having one star player shouldn't really be enough to rank a young core team at number 1, because after all, it is a team, Wemby is certainly unique, and when you have a guy like him whose ceiling is one of, if not the best player to ever play basketball, it definitely makes this a special case. But let me know what you think down in the comments. The Spurs definitely don't have nearly as much depth as some of the other teams as I've mentioned, but they have a lot of guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, or Zach Collin, who are still younger pieces to complement the team. But if we're being realistic, I definitely expect them to be traded in the coming seasons. But again, when you have a guy like Wemby, it's hard not to put them at the number 1 spot. Well, there you have it, the 5 best young cores in the NBA: the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, and the San Antonio Spurs. Comment below and let me know if I missed any teams. Let me know what your 5 favorite NBA young core teams are, either ranked on how good they are or just the overall group of players that you like the best. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more basketball and NBA content, and make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it or you learned something new. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and until next time, I'll see you later.